With the NBA draft less than a month away, the Blazers resume draft workouts. CP3 has been linked to Rip City. And the Knicks, well, the Knicks are nicking right on schedule.
Hey!
All that and more here on the Blazer Focus podcast. I am Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and OregonLive.com. And I'm joined by Craig Birnbach, who's from New York, who's a big diehard Knicks fan, who's been yearning for a championship almost all his life.
All my life.
All your life. You were born after the last one. The last one, 70, 71?
73.
73. Okay.
But yeah, I was conscious, but I was not. I was
But
in
you were
baby
alive.
form. I was baby form. I did not yet to enjoy it. I can promise you. I didn't know basketball existed.
You weren't going, yay, Willis Reed back at 2 in your diaper with a
No, it was not.
rattle. Okay. So before we get to what we have today, and we're going to talk about mock drafts and the players that they see the Blazers taking at number 11. We're going to get to that. But let's just talk about the playoffs since we're in the middle of the playoffs. OKC looks incredible. That
good.
one dud in game 3 at Minnesota, came back and won game 4. You know, the series isn't over. It's 3-1, but I can't imagine Minnesota winning 3 in a row. The Knicks are down 3-1. I still feel like the Knicks are the better all-around team. I'm not sure what is going on other than the fact that Halliburton and Siakam are just going bonkers against a really good defensive team. But since I got you on, Craig, I know you've watched every second of this series. What's the problem? What's happening?
Well, you can't collapse like you did in game 1 like that and just give it away. We gave away a game, and that momentum was terrible. First 3 games could have gone to anybody, but 2 of them went to the Pacers. Last night, first game that was won on a home court. That's crazy. It's crazy.
I love that, though. I love it when the home court does not matter. I love that.
Except for it's supposed to matter, like at MSG, I'm just saying, that's we're hanging our hat on that. And half the people were in the subway thinking, or in the LIR, on the train back thinking the Knicks won game 1, similar to the Reggie Miller choke game. But we won that series, so that was okay. This is not okay. And the hard part is that this has been a great year for the Knicks. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals. They beat the Celtics. But that's going to just make it that's going to make it awful that we gave away a game, I still don't know how that happened. I mean, I watched it and every text came in.
You got to close. You got to have someone who can close.
I feel sick. That's what all my friends, I feel sick. That's what I got. I'm like, so it's a sickening feeling. Obviously, Blazer fans know what that's like. The Laker loss will never leave them, and this one will be really hard. But I look, while you said you don't believe the T-Wolves can win 3 in a row, and I don't think the Knicks will, but there's a chance. There's a chance they can win 3 in a row. It's just hard because 2 in a row is a lot easier. And if we would have gone one, if it'd be 2-2 right now, I'd feel great. But we gave it away. And last night, a really good defensive team got lit up by better offense. That was a historical. That performance by Halliburton, was fantastic. And I will say this, he was voted the most overrated player by his peers. They were wrong.
Well, he had an off season. He had an off regular season.
Just saying,
but now he's stepping up. Now he's stepping up. So the one thing about coming back from 3-1, though, if you have game 7 at home, which the Knicks would, that lessens the hurdle. Because if you can just win 5 at home, which you should, in theory. If you can't win 5 at home, you lose 4-1, then, whatever.
Yeah, you weren't in it anyway.
You got to be able to go win in Indiana, which you just did. And then you come home. So, that's where the light is at the end of the tunnel, as far as I'm concerned. And I feel like the Knicks are better. They're just not playing like it. So I kind of feel like this series is not over. As for the Blazers, what killed the Blazers, and I'll never forgive Scottie Pippen for this, because he should have been the guy, is they just needed someone to say, give me the ball, and I'm going to go make a basket or get fouled and get to the line to stop the bleeding. And no one could do it. And that should have been Pippen. In this case, with the Knicks, it should have been Brunson, or it should have been Hart maybe, or somebody in that game they blew, where you just make a play to stop the bleeding. If you just make a couple plays, then they're not going to be able to mathematically come back in 2 minutes it was. So were you disappointed that no one could step up?
And Nesbitt doesn't suddenly become Steph Curry, like that. That was insane.
But you combat that.
Why do we have to do
some
this?
baskets.
It's a Blazer podcast.
I know, but it's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. You know,
I
we're
know.
gonna talk a little bit about that.
We're reliving it. I'm like, I don't want to relive that. It was just
okay.
It was just awful.
So one more thing. I was on Tannen's show down in Eugene.
Yep.
The other day.
And
we talked about the choke thing from Halliburton. What were your feelings on that?
Look, I mean, he shouldn't have done it because he didn't win the game. That he should have looked where his foot was first. If he would have hit the three, I think it's brilliant. I mean, I hate it, but it's brilliant. I mean,
harkening back to Reggie Miller.
Yes, it's brilliant.
It was great theater. And
right,
fans were all pissed off about it. I'm like, no,
we should be.
But
that's why he did it, to make us. I mean, that's what I mean. It was brilliant. I should be mad as a Knicks fan. I should, as a Knicks player. You don't make that symbol to not tick off the other team. Like that is not a celebratory symbol. That is a you choked symbol. That is not.
I know, but there's a nuance to it. Like, the players are one thing, but the fans can be upset that he had the opportunity to do it, not that he did it. That he did it was amazing.
Yes.
And I always try to look at things as an impartial observer. As an impartial observer, for him to do that, harkening back to Reggie Miller and the Pacers, was just great theater. Now,
Absolutely.
You're not going to like it that he did it, but you're more mad that he had an opportunity to do it than you are that he actually did it. You can't hate him. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Don't tell me who to hate.
I'll tell you. I'm talking about fans in general. So anyway, it was interesting.
But that's
theater.
the thing. He did the gesture to bring on the hate. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting to me is, does Deuce McBride know that? Like, how many actual Knicks know it as opposed to all the fans do know?
Because none of them were born, right?
I'm just saying, right? Like, unless you're you're 25 and you didn't grow up a Knicks fan. It's not like the Pacers didn't win a championship. Reggie Miller retired without a championship. The Knicks and Pacers met over and over again in the Eastern Conference Finals. Not over and over, but multiple times. And neither one of them won a championship.
Because of who?
Stop. And the Rockets. And John Starks can't make a shot. We lost to the Rockets in the one that we should have won. Yes. And if Charles Smith could dunk or make a layup, we would have won a title then too. Why do we do this?
Smith blocked again.
Oh, stop.
Marv Albert. Oh my God.
You're 6'10". Dunk the ball. You're 6'10".
So, one more quick story. I watched that game. So my future wife had a graduation ceremony for pharmacy school in Corvallis on the day of that game, dude. Needless to say, it was like, find a new girlfriend.
Thank God you picked the right one.
Game. Find this. Damn it! So I went to the game, but I recorded it on VHS. No one at the pharmacy,
back when you could do that,
graduation was talking about it, and we didn't have smartphones, so no one knew
you could do it
if they even cared. So I stayed completely away from it. Got back to her apartment in Corvallis, put in the VHS, and watched that thing, and just watched the whole thing through and through. It was one of the best sports moments in Bulls history for me. All right. Sorry to rub all that into you, but it's great. It's great talking about it's great theater. That's what makes sports fun, is that we care. All right. Moving on to a team that would just love to be in the conference finals again.
Sure.
They've only done so once since 2000. That's the Blazers. So they have been, we're going to talk about this just because it's fascinating, not because I think it's a legitimate report, so to speak, but Amico reported, or kind of put out there, Sam Amico, that the Blazers could be interested in Chris Paul. So, it's one of those things where they could. Teams could be interested in a lot of people. Right? He didn't come out and say they're definitely interested.
And
so
Chris Paul didn't say he was interested.
Right. So, they may be one of several teams. So the question is, why would they be interested? And so his argument was, or his statement was that, to mentor Scoot. I kind of find the whole veteran mentoring the young guy thing a little bit overrated. Your head coach is a former veteran point guard. I don't think it would hurt to have Scoot. But if you brought in Chris Paul, then Ant's got to go. Pretty much. Or you start Ant at 2 and Ant's sharing minutes at the 2 with Sharp. Maybe Sharp gives some minutes at 3 or whatever. So you could always do that as well. But for me, again, they have to win next year. So if you bring in CP3 and you're going to give him 20-something minutes, you have to do so believing he's going to help you win, because I don't care about Cronin and Billups' contract. With a new owner coming in, if they show slippage, they could easily all be gone in a nanosecond. So I guess my question for you is, would you even consider going down this road of bringing him in?
No, I would not.
Next segment.
Yeah. I mean, this doesn't make sense to me. First of all, year 3, you're a little bit almost past mentorship. Yeah, I know he's still young, but it's year 3. He's got to play. He doesn't play I don't want to give those minutes to a 40-year-old.
But you can go 32-16 or 30-18.
I know, but I mean, to me, I'd rather
with 30 for Scoot.
Yeah, and I'd rather play Ant a little bit, and I want to play Shaden. Like, I don't want to keep. I've got these young and who knows who you're going to draft, right? We're going to go through that. The Blazers just don't have a real need for a veteran 40-year-old point guard. And why in the world would Chris Paul want to do that at this point in his career, having never won a championship? Like, to me, he can do that mentorship when he retires and becomes an assistant coach. Like, I see it more from his standpoint. Like, why in the world? Like, he went to the Spurs to do that in a way with the greatest, coach of our generation on a Spurs team with Wemby. You know what I mean? Where he had a center, and that was an interesting choice to me. But if he's going to do that, I just don't see why he would do that. Why he would come and play his last year in Portland when there's a chance that if he wants to play limited minutes, he could at least go for a team that's going to make the playoffs. So I don't see that. And also, I do not see that as the need for the Blazers right now. Year 3 of Scoot, you're right. He's got Chauncey Billups to tell him what he should do. I mean, like, he's got that. That's what coaches are for. This, to me, unless you really thought the Blazers had a problem in learning how to be professionals, which you've seen that. You haven't. That's not a thing that we've heard of. No one's thinking, no one's worried about Scoot so far that I could tell, not being in shape, his off the court stuff, knowing how to prepare. I mean, that's the kind of thing Chris Paul can do. I mean, Chris Paul's ticked off. We could go through the list of teammates he's ticked off based on his ultra competitiveness. It's not like he's known as everyone's best friend, too. You know what I mean? He's got an edge to him, and he wants to keep – if he's going to play, he's going to want to win, in my opinion. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me, especially for when you have Chauncey Billups as your head coach, which you already brought up. I mean, you've got a Hall of Fame point guard who should be able to talk one-on-one with Scoot.
Okay, so I agree CP3 should not want to come to Portland unless it's his only option. Like, if no playoff contending team wants him coming off the bench, then
the Spurs don't want him back.
Right, and he still wants to play, then hey, Portland wants me, great. So I could see that happening. If I'm Portland, I only do it if I'm trading Ant. If I trade Ant and I'm going to roll with Scoot as my starting point guard, you need a backup veteran.
Sure.
So if you need a backup veteran, Chris Paul is not a bad choice. As long as he's willing to come in and be Scoot's backup and play, 15 to 18 minutes a night, then I would definitely consider it. And, I don't think it's a desperate need to have, the mentor point guard, especially with Chauncey, but it doesn't hurt. CP3 is a smart cat who probably can become a coach someday. So I don't think it would hurt Scoot. I think it could definitely help him, but not if Ant's still there. Now it's just clogged. Now it's okay. What are we doing? Unless Chris Paul's like, hey man, I'll play 10 minutes. I just want to be on the team and just come, still be on the team and see if I can help you guys as a third string point guard get to the postseason. Then why not? As long as the roles are understood. So that's sort of where I am with it. I don't believe it's going to happen. I think if they go the route of trading Ant and getting a veteran backup, it'll be someone under 40.
Right.
Right. So we'll see. All right. Good. We talked about that. Got that off the board. Okay. The Blazers resumed workouts again. My list here. On Tuesday. No one really overly exciting. Most of these guys, actually all these guys are listed as free agents. Caleb Love out of Arizona and Wade Taylor out of Texas A&M were the best two, and both of them have major shooting issues they need to work on. Wade Taylor set the Texas A&M record for points, breaking Bernard King's record. Bernard King had the career record at 1,900. This kid went for 2,058, but he did so shooting under 40%, which is wild to me for his entire career.
That's a lot of shots.
Under 40, and exactly. And he's 6
I bet
foot.
you Bernard King shot over 40%.
Yeah, and he's 6 foot, so he's undersized, and he doesn't shoot so well. The rest of the guys, none of them are listed on any mock drafts I could find. But Thursday, I'm told, is supposed to be a good day. I haven't been told yet who's going to be there, but there should be at least 2 guys projected in the lottery that the Blazers could have a shot at. So that'll segue into our next segment here. The mock drafts were updated after the lottery. A lot of people updated their mock drafts, and I did an article last week that we were going to talk about, but we got bogged down with other stuff on the players that these mock drafts identified as targets for the Blazers. I'm not going to run through each individual one necessarily, but I guess we ultimately will. But let's just start, I guess, with you. Can you identify 2-3 guys that you like at 11 for the Blazers?
Yeah,
that are realistic.
Right, that are realistic. So
Cooper Flagg, number 11. Yeah, right. That's a great pick.
my two, the two that I'm leaning toward are defensive guys.
Okay.
That play forward. So Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina,
right,
and possibly Carter Bryant, thinking a huge upside. I think Carter Bryant will be available. I think Colin Murray Boyles, that's many mocks have him there. I just, personally, or Derek Queen if he were to be left,
right,
which is the opposite. That guy's more on the offensive end. I just want to continue with the theme of getting long, big guys that can play D, because to me, if you could get lucky and find that offensive gem all-star down here. It's not ridiculous, right? It's not ridiculous, but you're also looking for guys at this place that will be contributors and will build on where you hope your strengths will be. And to me, those 2 guys, in Murray Boyles and Bryant, 6'7", 6'8", they both are in the mocks in the lottery zone because of because everyone feels they're going to be good defenders, and then possibly they can get better on offense. So to me, we know if you just go get offensive players, sometimes they're out of the league, or they don't play. And this team doesn't have like a glaring one position need anymore. They've drafted or gotten people to fill each spot. We just need stars. And to me, I don't think you don't usually get them at 11, like guaranteed. You got to get a little lucky. So that's the direction I would go. I like, Queen, who's many people think will be gone. I mean, I love a 6'10", young kid that has a chance. That's the guy who maybe he ends up being a star. You know what I mean? Like that we don't know everything about him. But those are the 3 guys I have circled.
Okay. Carter Bryant was not listed as going to the Blazers, but many people had him 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Obviously, the Blazers could take him. So here's what I like about him. And I agree with everything you said. First of all, best player available. Best player available that you think has the best upside. Need be damned. If they get to 11 and the best guy there is a flipping point guard.
You take a flipping point.
Let's say it's hold on. Let's say it's hold on. I was working on his pronunciation of his name here a little bit ago.
Kasparis.
Kasparis.
That's it. Just call him Kasparis.
Wait. No, I worked on it.
KJ.
Kasparis Yakushonis. Woo! Yep. Nailed it. Yakushonis. That guy's there at 6'7", who's a playmaker, who got to work on some defense, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, maybe you roll the dice and go with it. Now you got a tall point guard. Just chips are gonna fall where they may.
And
but
he's 6'6" and he's 6'6" and can pass.
Right.
You don't know if he can shoot yet. So it's not like he can't. You hope he could guard, 2s and 3s at that size.
Right. But the problem though is that, and it goes with forward too, because if people believe that Tumani and Denny are the future there, then whomever you're drafting you're drafting them to be a backup until further notice, right? Unless one of them blows up, sort of like Denny just did or Tumani just did, right? But as long as the kid can come in and give you something as he's developing, then I think you're good. And the thing with Carter Bryant is, at 6'8", he's giving you length. He's athletic. He was a high-end recruit coming out from Arizona. He only averaged 6 points per game, but that was because of usage. Because the kid shot 46% from the field and 37% on threes. So if you're telling me they can bring this guy in, he can come off the bench, even if it's just 12 minutes, and knock down a three and play some solid defense behind Tumani and Denny.
He's 19.
He's 19. It's a good pick. And now you got someone else in the pipeline that who knows what he'll be at 22, right? And so that's sort of how I look at all those guys. And if you, the least you can do is bring some effort on defense, then you're usable. That's where someone like Queen scares me, because Queen, everyone says Queen's offense is nice, but defensively, he's got so much work to do. So if you put him out there and he's getting killed defensively, Chauncey's going to take him right out. And you don't necessarily need his offense because you already got a bunch of people who can score. Now, in the case of, you mentioned him already,
Murray Boyles.
So NBA.com, Yahoo, and SB Nation have the Blazers taking him. So he's considered one of the best defenders in this league. He can get to the basket at 245 pounds like a bull, so he can score. He can't shoot outside. There were some that question his ability athletically to guard smaller, more agile players. But if he's playing the 4 or some 5,
he plays up. He plays up.
Right.
He plays.
I mean, so
bigger
he's not,
guys.
Yeah. So there's some question there, but whatever. At least he's going to give you effort on defense. There's this other kid here, Rasheer Fleming. This guy's interesting. CBS has him going 11 to the Blazers, but most mocks have him going in the 20s.
Yeah, much lower.
Yeah, but he's someone who averages 15 and 8 and with 1.5 blocks and shot 53 and 39. He shot 159 threes, so it's like he didn't take any. So to me, that's an intriguing guy because he gives you some defense as well, and he already proves he can shoot. He's got length, and he's a 6'9" power forward, only 20, right? So there's some interesting guys there that I think they're going to come away with someone solid that you can at least hope develops. But for me, number one, Craig, trade the pick.
Well, I'm okay with that. You didn't even give that option.
No, I know. No, I'm just saying, if you can package that pick in a bigger trade to bring in, even if it's someone on Denny's level, do it.
Absolutely. Oh my God, yes.
No, I mean Denny's level from what he was coming out of Washington.
I mean, of course.
Now, it's like, you do that all day. But I'm saying, rolling the dice with a guy like that.
Denny was a guy that you knew he wasn't living up to his top 10 per se, but he was a legitimate NBA basketball player. When you draft at 11, you better get one, but you don't know if you're going to get a starter, absolutely. And if it can help you move off of a Grant contract, some ways, do it. The problem is that I don't know why it's not a highly coveted pick right now. This isn't, it's decent, but everyone knows kind of after you get out of the top 7 or 8, it starts being good, but no one knows who's going where, and that's always the way. And you don't necessarily need to move up. And my guess is the Spurs, who have 2 picks, one, a top 5 and a 14, they're trying to get really good right now. They're trying to do the same thing, but they're better. And they have the 14th pick and a top 5 pick. So it's going to be hard to compete for certain assets, but agreed.
So to your point though, like this pick is better than last year's 14th pick, which they packaged and flipped for Denny.
Yep.
And that ended up being
with another one.
Right. That ended up being Bub Carrington, who had a nice rookie season, was all rookie team. But Bub Carrington would have done absolutely nothing for you last season.
Yep.
Or I believe next season. Whereas Denny did a lot for you and will do a lot moving forward because he's already an adult veteran.
Plus
guy,
that contract is, let's not
yeah,
forget how great that contract is.
Right. So I would love to see them be able to somehow pull off a trade where this pick's included and they come away with a player where we're all like, oh, okay, this moves the needle. Because again, development and building for the future is not over with, but the future of winning needs to start now.
It's not a luxury.
Because the new owners are coming.
Yep.
The new owners are coming, and Cronin and Billups need to show that they're worthy of keeping. So we'll see what happens. Now, Shams just reported that he thinks this is going to be one of the craziest off seasons in the history of the NBA. So if that means players are going to be flying all over the place, the Blazers need to jump in there and grab them one somehow, some way.
Agreed. Yeah, I 100% agree with your analysis that the development is, if you're Cronin, especially if you're Cronin, because you don't know, like Chauncey's going to get something else no matter what as a head coach or, he could be a GM. He almost was a GM without ever even working in a front office. And he could be a broadcaster. But if you're Joe Cronin, I'm not saying you backed in, but when someone gets fired unexpectedly and it's not necessarily for results oriented, you don't know if you're what your other chances are of getting another GM job. So you might as well just go for it. And getting another 19-year-old is not going to help you that much.
100%. All right. So other guys that mock drafts have the Blazers taken. Your lights. Craig's fixing his lights. Are they on a timer or something? Are your lights on a timer? You can't hear me. Are your lights on a timer?
No, I had to go get the lights on. They turn off,
Yeah, are they on a timer? What happened?
If I don't move and I'm too short, I think, for them to see me when I'm sitting down.
Oh my gosh.
You should have.
All right. So I mentioned Fleming. We mentioned Kasparis. 15-5. Only 31% from long distance. Athleticism questionable, but he's a playmaker. Got to trade Anthony. Well, I don't think you got to trade Anthony. We mentioned Colin. The other kid on here, we mentioned Queen. Nolan. Go ahead.
I like Igor Demin, the freshman out of BYU, the 6'9" point guard. I like him. He can't shoot yet, and he's going to be a little bit of a mess, so I don't know how he gets on the court. But in this day and age in the NBA, when I see big point guards that, that grew up playing overseas, I get excited at the possibilities, because the NBA they got that now, and I don't know. But most people think he's going to go lower. But I like how he played at BYU. He started off red hot, then had some issues, but God, he can really pass. If you look at video of him, he can really see the court at 6'9", and he, when you play point guard in college at 6'9", that's a special person. That doesn't happen very often. So I don't think they'll pick him per se, and I don't know how he fits based on the situations. But as you said, there's no fit for anybody, technically. But I don't see a role for him to actually play unless he comes in and blows everyone away.
Yeah, 6'9" point guard. You start thinking of Magic, or
Luka Doncic is what I think of. You know what I mean?
Luka, and then Tony Kukoc from back, and I'm going old school there too. So what does he end up being? Does he end up being Luka? Does he end up being Tony? If he's Kukoc, I think you're cool with that.
Yeah, of course you are.
You're cool with that moving forward. But at 6'9", man, who's he guarding?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But I even look at Josh Giddey And I love Josh Giddey's game. I mean, he stepped up big time with you guys with the
Yeah.
Bulls, but even when he was at OKC, I really liked that aspect of this huge guy who can really pass. Now, Giddey struggled shooting the ball, and obviously OKC traded him away, and it looks like they're going to be okay. Like I'm not worried about them; they're all right. But the Bulls got him and have utilized him, and I don't know. I just always think that 6'9", when you got guys that tall that can really pass, I think that's where the NBA is going. And you check the box of 2 out of the 3. The third thing you need is to be able to shoot, which he can't, but he's he's a freshman. And like when you say who's he going to guard, well, sure, it's an issue right now for Luka Doncic in a way, but at some point in time, it's who's going to guard you that becomes
if
the
your
bigger
offense,
thing, right?
If your offense blows up, yeah, definitely. He's definitely intriguing. To me, that's what we're talking about. We roll the dice on someone like that and hope you hit, as opposed to taking someone safer. And then 5 years from now, you're like, damn, we missed out on Giannis.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, they don't. I don't know if rolling the dice is in the cards for them right now, based on what.
That's why I'd rather trade the pick. But
agree.
But at 11, you're rolling the dice regardless. So you might as well roll the dice big. So I could definitely see taking him. The other guy listed on here, Nolan Traore. USA Today has the Blazers taking him. Averaged 12 and 5. Only shot 39% from the field, 30% from 3-point range, but considered a good defender. I need guys shooting over 40%, dude. It drives me bananas that guys shooting under 40% are NBA prospects from the field, bro. I can live with the 3-point thing. You can develop that, but you're playing college basketball and you can't shoot over 40%.
Hey, look,
or even if you're playing over in France. Maybe I give him the benefit of that because he was playing. Hold on a second, he wasn't playing college basketball. He's playing France. He's playing pro ball in France.
Yeah, that's harder.
Still. Can I get over 40%? But he's
I'm
only
just
19.
saying.
Still.
Rutgers has 2 of the top 5 players that are going to go in the draft, and they didn't make the tournament. What I mean? Like, it's a different world than it was back in the day. It's all about potential and not about what you did. Now, that'll be interesting to see how college basketball, pro basketball changes based on NIL. Like, more guys are going to maybe stay. But you got to roll the dice in the draft and luck out. That's kind of where you're at. You could, but I think the Blazers, and that's, I don't know how willing they are just going to, because they're not going to give space to these projects next year. There's not going to be the same opportunity that Shaden had and Scoot had, in the sense that they were begging these guys just do enough so we can play you.
Right.
Just don't crap the bed every time we put you out there. Like, we don't care if we lose. We just don't want to keep losing by 40, which was happening. So
Right.
6'9" point guards who can't shoot. I mean, that's a project. That's not a guy that can play on this roster. So that's why when you ask me who you're leaning toward, I lean toward 6'8" forwards that could guard multiple positions and maybe shoot. Because like you said, I see 12 minutes available. On these teams, because the other guys, the Murrays, they don't need to play Chris Murray anymore unless something crazy happens. I mean, like, we know where we're at. The Bartons, you don't need to play them necessarily unless you don't have anything better.
You said Barton. Delano.
Delano, what did I think?
You said Barton.
Thank you.
We were going back to Will Barton.
Yeah, Will Barton.
I was like, Barton?
I think he retired, but you should play him. He could score. He shot higher than 40%. But I'm saying, like, there's just not, the bench isn't full of people that need to play.
Right.
You don't need to see Reith play again. Good for you, great story, but you're not going to blow up, and be a borderline starter. So, I'm interested to hear how to see what the Blazers do, because I think they're in a place where they're still figuring out, like if you're Cronin, you might have had to recalibrate and say, okay, like, oh, it's happening now. Like, I don't think they're surprised by this, right? And I think it was probably part of their negotiations for their contracts. If they are surprised, that's silly, because schmoes like you and me I've been saying they're going to sell this team eventually, and it could come at any time. And their agents were talking to people, so they had to have a little bit. But the immediacy is new, because they kind of lucked out of the fact that they somehow, in some circles, got a pass for, well, you could not draft Scoot, and you had to, and then Dame said he wanted to be traded, so you had to trade him. Like there were excuses to be made for where they got.
Right.
I didn't accept all of them, and many people didn't. But now, the only voice that'll matter and opinion will matter will be the new owner.
100%. Speaking of which, we'll close on this. So I did an article that posted yesterday on prospective buyers, just because that's what you do in these types of situations.
Plus, you hang out with those people.
Yeah.
That's your crew.
We compare, our choices of Jet, Caviar.
I thought you were talking about Jet Magazine. Like, which one was your favorite?
Yeah, Jet.
From back in the day. I
Jet
love the one with Eddie and Michael on it.
No, I meant the private jet. All right, so just real quick. So, look, I put a lot of people. I'm not gonna go through every name, but I put people on there who were involved chasing the Knicks. Excuse me, the Celtics. Like Dan Friedkin, guys like that. Lauren Powell Jobs is on here. The widow of Steve Jobs, mainly because she actually owns she owns 20% of Monumental Sports and Entertainment, which owns the Wizards and the Capitals. But she reportedly is looking to sell half of her stake in that. So that's more pulling back than saying I want to own an entire team. Stan Middleman, he owns 16% stake in the Phillies, and was involved in maybe trying to go after the Celtics. Now, I also threw on here Jody Allen and Burt Cole. Oh! Okay, so you're not. What are you looking at? Is the school on fire?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So, Bill Orm, I'm going to blame it on Bill Orm. I'm going to say he did it. No, Bill said we should throw him on there. So, but think about it, though. Let's think about this for a second.
I have no idea how much money he has.
Okay, but again, they could put together a group of people. They don't have to necessarily come up with $3 billion. They could put together a group and sort of lead that group. And the only reason why I would think this even be plausible is because Jody Allen spent way too much time coming down to Portland to watch bad basketball up until the second half of this last season if she didn't care at all. And so the reports have always been, she doesn't talk to anybody, that she kind of liked having the Blazers. At first she had no interest, and then she grew to like them. And we all know Bert likes them. And so why not put together a group that you're leading, buy the team, Paul Allen's estate gets its money, and then you keep the team.
I have to think it's a no starter, because the money is his money.
Huh?
So I would have to think that if he wanted her to own the team, he could have left it to her.
But she wasn't interested in any of this until
she ended up being involved. It feels to me
so now
that's
7
weird.
years later. Okay, the whole thing's, listen, I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say this has legs. I'm saying it's not impossible. The question is, do they really enjoy and like being a part of it? And the evidence of that being a thing is the fact that they were always there to watch. The fact last year they were one of the worst teams in the history of the franchise, and Jody Allen was there. The first half of this season, when they were bad again, Jody Allen was there. Why is she coming down? What is the point? Unless she cares. And so I'm just saying that if she cares enough to do that, why not care enough to put together your own group, buy the team, you still the lead owner, the state gets its money, you and Bert still run the Blazers, Everyone's happy. No?
No.
You're saying 0.
0.
Okay, I'm saying there's a chance. God, people overuse that, but it's such a great line. I'm saying 5% chance.
Okay.
5% is my 5% is always my default percentage when I literally have no clue and no access to have a clue. But I'm gonna leave it out there so that if it happens, I go, see, I told you.
Right.
5%.
Yeah.
I can't be wrong.
I'm gonna go with the.
You can be wrong. You can be wrong.
Oh, I can definitely be wrong.
I can't be wrong at 5. A lot of people don't understand how percentages work. If I say something's 1% chance of happening and it doesn't happen, I wasn't wrong. I only gave it 1%.
Oh, I know
what does happen.
I know what I'm doing.
I was right. Okay.
I'm very confident in what I'm doing. I know. Confident. I understand percentages.
I put Jeff Bezos in there just because he's been linked to certain teams here and there, and his ex-wife Mackenzie Scott, whom actually Canzano mentioned a few years ago as allegedly having interest. Larry Ellison. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just end it right there. My speculations. On the record, he has 0%. I have 5%. So I can't be wrong. He can. That's typically how it is on the Blazer Focus podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll come back next week and we'll break down some of the guys the Blazers brought in for workouts.